All right. Thanks. Thank you so much, Wendy, for having me. And, I am just really honored to be here. And my whole thing is about afterlife research for me. I'll get into that in a little bit. It's very, very important to me as a medium that research is done and proved. That's one of my biggest things. I've captured pictures of spirit throughout my whole life. I've seen them since I was 2. So I'll kind of go into my background. So I didn't, I listened to Lourdes in the beginning. And like I said, I was kind of waiting for a couple people to come on because I really felt like if there's any questions at the end, it's kind of nice for other people to listen into them because it might be beneficial to you too, the way I answer them. They can apply to more than one person. But anyway, my background is I didn't, at 2 years old, I developed permanent double vision after being really sick as a child with bronchitis, and I lost a muscle in my left eye, and I had to wear a patch in my right eye. And if you guys, you're in your 50s or 60s, you probably remember the patches. I think kids still wear them, but my brain never developed properly, and I developed permanent double vision from the patch. So I started seeing the spiritual world at that time. With my left eye, I could see deceased people walking around my bedroom, spirit forming. My right eye, I saw the physical world. I'm kind of dubbed as a medium, which one of the producers that I've worked with suggested that I did because it's kind of unique and it's different how I began seeing. As a child, I was very, very sensitive. I mean, at the age of 2, I was not only seeing the spiritual world and like I'd see orbs flying around, I'd see them form into not even deceased loved ones, but ghosts. I was seeing ghosts at a very young age. And then I was seeing everything. And I'd say to my parents, I am, there's people in my room, there's people at the end of my bed. And my mother would say, it's your imagination. It's time to go back to bed. You're just, you're watching too much TV. And I always tell people, if you ever have any children or hear these kind of stories from children, don't ever try to turn them away from it. Listen to them because children, all of us, are really born connected to the other side. The top of our head is soft at birth. And this is where we receive information as mediums. So young children that see like their grandparents that have passed away or paranormal activity, they really are experiencing that until somebody tells them that they're crazy or it's their imagination. And a lot of people will outgrow it, so to speak. But for me, it didn't work that way. It kind of worked the opposite way. Here I am, like being this overly sensitive kid. I can see the spiritual world. I could read people. I'm also a psychic medium, a psychic as well. And, I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be the norm kid that fit in. It was already bad enough. I was like bullied for my eyes and everything. And I remember, my 2nd grade teacher telling my mom, I was at the conference with her, teacher conference, that I'd never make it to college because of my eyes and my overactive imagination, which was my spiritual ability, because I could sense them everywhere. I get thrown in the coat closet for like acting up, and there they would be. Ended up being one of the buildings that I had my school in. It was haunted. So I was seeing ghosts in the closet in school. So fast forward, I was a fighter from that point on, from 2nd grade, because I'm like, there's no way that nobody's going to tell me that I can't make it in my life, that I can't make it to college. So I fought my way. It was really hard. To this day, I still have permanent double vision. And I always say a joke, because I say, when I'm regular every day, I see 2. When I have a couple glasses of wine, I see 1. So it's great. So it works out. And I have a very handsome husband, so I have 2 husbands, so I get away with that too. So that's my joke for the moment. But so I basically fought my way, and I went to college. I finished college. It was very hard for me because I see 2 lines to this day, and when I read, it's like a line's like this and other lines like that. And I ended up getting into administration work, and I actually work for NASA during the day. A lot of people don't know that. I've been working for the Smithsonian Observatory in Cambridge, Mass. for the last 3 decades. I'm a meeting planner for a NASA project for Chandra that's launched into space. And I plan scientific meetings, and I do the funding and everything else for them. But my abilities were growing throughout this whole process. And I met my ex-husband. This is part of the story with being why I got tested and endorsed. He was a scientist, rocket scientist I met at work. And, you know, through the course of our marriage, the beginning of our marriage, he knew I had the gift. He knew I could see things. And he'd always say, you know, it's your imagination, or, you know, you're crazy and it's not possible. You know, there's no way that these things could exist. There isn't any scientific evidence. So I basically, you know, the marriage wasn't working out, and my son was overly sensitive. He is exactly like I am. He never got trained in it. It was just natural for him. Left my marriage, took my son, and basically opened my practice. I was a Reiki master teacher at the time, and it wasn't until I actually started working with people in a close proximity that all the messages, boom, were coming out like that, because I'd be focusing on the hands-on healing, which I wanted to do to help people with trauma and loss and pain. And I was just pushing away the psychic and the mediumship abilities because I was afraid of them. Nobody would accept them. I didn't want to be I didn't want to be bullied for them because I was bullied as a child. But what was happening was, when I was doing the hands-on healing for people, I was getting psychic information from them. I was getting mediumship information from them. I was seeing the angels around them, because I also can channel angels. I actually am a physical medium, so I feel their pain and I feel their discomfort in their body and everything that's going on. And so here I am in my 40s, okay, you know, suppressing it through my life, and all these people are saying, yes, that makes sense. Yes, that makes sense. How did you know that? And it was for the first time in my life, if I hadn't opened the practice, I'd never have it validated, because I had other people now validating all this information. But still, I was, again, like a little nervous about putting myself out there. But people stopped coming to me for Reiki. They wanted the sessions. They wanted the healing. They wanted to connect to their husband or their loved ones. But the thing about me is, anybody that's natural, you don't really need training. You just need to fine tune it. So I just always said to them, I don't want to know what, you know, except for the session type you're here for. I just tell me what you want. I don't want to know who you want to connect to, because I made myself do double, triple work to get the messages that there's no way that they would ever, nobody would ever be able to tell me about. Very, very specific details. And so that was my thing. And people started coming to me like, how did you like know that? And, you know, you didn't even tell me, I didn't even tell you who passed away. And I'd say, because it just comes to me naturally, and that's the way I want it to be. So ironically, it was a shift. I opened my practice originally in 2007 as the Reiki shop, as a Reiki master teacher. And by 2013, I changed it to the spiritual path, because now I was helping people on their spiritual journey in their life, helping them with the development as a teacher, and helping people to like connect to their loved ones. And so people weren't really coming to me for Reiki anymore. They were coming to me for mediumship and sessions and wanting to know. So it was one of those things, I was afraid to put myself out there. But then I found Dennis. This is where my story comes to the voice across the veil. And I said to myself, if I'm going to really be out there with all the skeptics in the world, my ex-husband, who is waiting to do anything to me because he's going to say you're crazy because I had custody of our son, I'm like, I've got to be endorsed. I've got to be tested, and I need to know I'm really doing this for real, and that if people are going to pay me money, that I'm actually good enough to accept that money and you know, be okay with all of that. So I had talked to Dennis, and he tested me twice with people I had never met. And then I ended up getting tested. I've been tested and endorsed over 8 times for accuracy, twice from Dennis, and like 3 other locations where they found me or I found them, and I just kept going, because I was like, I have to prove this to myself. I have to prove that I am actually doing this for real, and that that I'm legitimate. It was very important to me because I was bullied, but it was also important to me also to prove it with all the scientists that I work with. A lot of them knew I was gifted, but also my ex-husband. So I kind of went on, and it just, everything kind of fell into place. I've worked very hard. I've never been formally trained in any of this. I always say people that are natural in this, you're not going to need to be trained. It's going to come to you. The only thing I say is that you need to be fine-tuned. And I teach that. I'm a spiritual teacher. So I did take, honestly, I took a few classes on angels and psychic and mediumship, and it wasn't to learn. It was really for me to be able to validate more information, to get a teacher's perspective on how I read. And I was put in some pretty tough situations, which I'm actually going to do for you guys tonight too, for your little breakout room. I was put in some pretty tough situations, and a real like developing medium or somebody that's at that level or getting into that level, they're going to be able to bang it out. They should be able to bang out that information. It comes to you naturally through one or more of your senses, either to see, feel, taste, know, smell. And you don't have to have all of them. I have all of them. I do see clairvoyantly. I do hear clairaudiently. I do feel clairsentient. I do know through claircognizance. I do have the smell through clear aroma, and I do taste. Not very often, but I do taste clairgustance. Those are the 6 senses. I have them. But I tell people that are developing, people like, oh, I have to have 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these kind of senses to be effective. No, you don't. You don't need to have all of them. You just have to have like 1 or 2 that are very, very strong, that are constantly giving you the messages, and then having those validated by the people you're reading. So like I said, I've been tested and endorsed. I'm also an afterlife research medium for science. I wrote this book called Who Are You? Are you a psychic, medium, or other spiritual worker? It's on Amazon. And I wrote it for my students. I wrote it for people that are like me, that their whole entire life, they wondered, am I actually gifted or not? Am I crazy? Am I overly sensitive, or am I really an empath? So I wrote that. It's kind of like a class in a book. It's a very short read. And I did that to help people that are like you. Am I really, really gifted or not? And I actually provide some exercises in that book. But I never looked to be in the limelight. My whole thing was I wanted to be legit, but I did end up getting under contract for a television show in 2013, and it didn't work out, but it was probably the best thing ever, because I started getting very heady about my work, and I heard God speak to me clearly and say, God give it to you, God take it away. This is not your purpose. And because I was getting very heady about it, my ability started actually going away. But since that time, I have been on the List television show, and I just got filmed recently for a documentary for a murder case in Provincetown, Mass, where a woman was murdered in 1974, and I became the lead medium on that when she guided me basically to her murder site, not the place she was discovered, but her murder site. So I've been kind of involved with like some TV and things like that, but it's not like for me to be like in the limelight. It's more to say, this is real. We are doing some real stuff here. And, we need to help people. Like, mediums are not really in it for money. Most of them aren't. It's mostly because we really need to help heal people. We really need to prove that this is real. So I think that's it. So anyway, I just kind of went with the flow. Is that good? Did I do my timing right? Oh, you're muted.
Lauren, that was perfect. Absolutely wonderful. So let's move into questions now. If you have a question, you can click the reactions button at the bottom of your screen and raise your hand, and that makes it very easy. Lauren can call on you as you raise your hand, and I will just draw attention if she misses somebody. So away we go. Any questions?
Don't be shy, people. Okay, I'm going to go with Lourdes first. You can unmute yourself, hon. I heard you earlier. I know you were trying to ask some things, and so I didn't have a chance to answer you early because I wanted to wait till it was on, but.
Okay. Well, since I've been always on a spiritual search personally, and also complementing my work as a psychotherapist, there are certain things that I would like to start clarifying. For example, you mentioned angels, and you used the word angels, and I would like to know first if, so people from higher dimensions, teachers, highly evolved teachers. So they are visible as normal spirits, or is this a different vibration and in reality they are not tangible? Are they just energy? And I'm saying it to you because you mentioned it, like if in the same reading you could see normal people or angels. I don't have the idea of traditional angels with wings, etc. Correct me if I'm wrong, no? So that's my question: are they a higher vibration or something? Does this make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, so they are higher vibrational state, and like I always tell people, I can read angels. I have always been able to go many different avenues. Paranormal, I'm a paranormal expert. I've done angels, psychic, mediumship. For some reason, I've had a lot of past lives. I can go. So to answer your question about angels, angels are a higher vibrational state. There are several types of angels that work with humans. There are archangels. They are like just the right-hand people to God. Archangels have the highest vibrational state. They have like roles and they work with God. Then we have guardian angels that are assigned to each one of us that they help us on our life path and to take us when it's our time to go and to heal us when it's not. And then there's other regular angels that will come in and assist, like when there's something really major going on, like you're not going to die, and they'll work with the other angelic realm. They are a higher vibrational state. For some reason, I never even knew I could even work with angels till I was in my practice. When I was working with a woman that was passing away, that I saw like 17 of them appear around her. I started to cry. It was the most beautiful experience. It's the way, like I have a class, I'm kind of resistant about teaching it because it's really unique, but it was called the Spiritual Connection class because I talk about the different vibrational states of the spirits that come through to us because they all feel different to me. So I know, like if I'm channeling an angel, I know if I'm channeling a loved one, I know I'm channeling a psychic messages, but I also say specific things when I stop, doing my work so I can go in that direction. But to answer questions that they are a higher vibrational state. And there's also angels that are amongst us as earth angels. They are run by the angelic realm, but they're in human form. And not all past lives are human. We also have past lives from the angelic realm. So like, for instance, I'm an earth angel. I have the typical, and a lot of people say, oh, that's baloney. But you know what? There's a really good book by Doreen Virtue. Look it up. It's called Earth Angels. So if you really feel like you don't belong here, you feel like you've never really belonged, you are very, very sensitive. You end up being with addicted people. You're always helping people. You have a lot of health issues. I am like totally like that. I've had like so many surgeries. I'm like the surgery queen. But literally, Earth Angels are people that just selfless and they get very sick from it. So like that means my last life, even though I have a physical body, my last life came from the angelic realm. So I have a higher purpose. That's why I can channel information very quickly, not just from angels, but other places, but that's one of my roles. Does that make sense? It's a very, very long answer, but I have to cut it out when I'm a teacher because I teach all of this. I teach mediumship, I teach angels, I teach Reiki, so I gotta like cut it. Does that make sense? Or did I go too?
No. Great. Thank you. Now, just another to complement this, the teachers, the gurus. For example, Neem Karoli Baba, who was Ramdas' teacher, he became very famous in West. Or the Buddhist deities like Kuan Yin. Are they? Is this the same? I mean, can you really tune in with them? Because I can accept the idea of opening my heart and merging with them as representatives of a teacher, of a guru. But I mean, I'm sorry, I'm also curious, to put it that way. Is it possible to really dialogue with them, not only through faith?
What do you mean? What are they? They like speak like teachers, like spiritual teachers from
From
the
India, for
universe?
example, Neem Karoli Baba was a Hindu teacher who died in 1974.
Oh, you mean to channel them and work with them to help you kind of thing, you mean?
Yeah, so
I wouldn't suggest it.
uh-huh.
Okay, I really feel like, I'm very careful when I teach. I tell people be very specific what you look for and what you were asking for, because you don't want to go to different places that you're not supposed to go. And I wouldn't try to connect to a teacher to access any information or anybody that has passed. I just wouldn't do it. I'm just hearing a no on that.
Okay.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just hearing that. I'm giving you a medium answer right now.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I would work with like the energies that are readily available that we already have, like mediumship. I don't know if you all know this, but when it comes to mediumship, when I'm reading somebody, I read people in my office. I read them all over the world. They don't even have to be in front of me. I just connect to their energy. If it's a phone, I'm connecting to their voice. If it's a Zoom, I'm connecting to their face or just their voice. And it starts populating information. And what I do is I connect to their spirit to see who's coming in for them. That is coming, like when it's psychic, I'm connecting to that person's higher spirit, like your higher spirit. That is your soul, the spirit of who you are. And it's going to give me information what's going on with your lifetimes and everything that's happening in your life. When it comes to angels, I'm making a connection through you to your angels, the ones that are helping you to receive information. So they're all vibrational states, but like I wouldn't connect to a past teacher for guidance. I think it's almost, I'm just hearing like I don't think it's ethical. I don't think it just, you might be getting, and if you don't know what you're doing with mediumship, you have to be really careful with mediumship. I'm telling everybody this because I've done so many paranormal investigations. People start doing all kinds of weird things and playing with Ouija boards. And next thing you know, they've got an attachment. And when do you know that I got up out of my seat? Some man just knocked on my door. I'm in my office, my practice space. Out of the room, he's like, I think I have an attachment. Can I talk to you right now? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of a Zoom call. But people like that start doing things like Ouija boards and connecting and don't know what they're saying and start making connections. You don't know who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So but I wouldn't even try to talk to a teacher. You might not get the teacher unless you are very, very specific. Okay. I'm going to let that go because I want to make sure there's time for other people. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I answered your question though. All right. Thank you. Hi, Janice. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. Nice to meet you. Where are you from?
I'm from Toronto, Ontario in Canada.
Okay, I was gonna say, you sounded like you're from around here. Anyway, how can I help you?
Oh, first of all, it's just incredible listening to you because some of the stuff that you said I've kind of like figured out about the Earth Angel and everything like that. I guess I've got two questions. One of them is basically how does one protect oneself? Because I find that I am an empath, definitely, and I just find that sometimes my energy is sapped and then I'll actually be able to figure out who or what it is. And I try different things to try to get rid of it. I mean, it can almost bring me to my knees. I can feel negative thoughts and positive thoughts. That's one thing. And then the other question is basically, when I discern, I believe that it comes from God. Sometimes I will hear more than one voice. It's like on the left side, I'll hear a voice and I go, no, that's not it. If it's anything telling me what to do, and I'll basically tell it to keep quiet, or it'll be a spirit, and I will send it to the other side. Hopefully, when it's from the right side of my like my ears, then I find that seems to be more from God, a higher source. Anyways, those are the two things I would love comments on.
Okay, sure. So I want to focus first before I go into the protection. Are you asking for this information when it comes to you, or is it just coming in naturally?
I'm
You get
asking.
these- Okay.
I'm asking.
And who are you asking this information from?
I guess I'm basically hoping that it's from God. I'm hoping actually it's from the highest source possible.
Are you setting your intention for that?
Absolutely.
So what are you saying?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, in my space, my apartment, I've caught weird things, on by the camera, and I've gone through a lot and I almost died and all that. So I really understand what you've gone through, or at least, and that's all gone. But it's like, I'm like a sponge. I think I can just say that. I just feel like I'm a sponge, and I'm just not able to, maybe it sort of ties in with protection. I'm just not able to kind of always discern where I'm getting the information. And
Okay,
then if,
what, may I ask real quick, what is that information coming in from the left side that you are not able to identify? What are you hearing?
it would be, for example, I'm not sure what to do today. And then a voice will come in and say, well, you need to do this, this, and this, and this, you know what I mean? And it's sort of like in the control thing. And I'm going, this doesn't feel right.
Is it positive or is it more pushy?
Um, I would say it's more like a controlling thing. I don't think it's like, I haven't heard anything that's really terrible. I shouldn't say that. I have heard things that are really terrible. So I'm always trying to discern what it is. What is it? I'll just say briefly, I'm not going to go into big history, that I come from a difficult background as a child. And I think that part of it was I didn't really have boundaries. So now it's like I have to learn how to set boundaries in a better way.
Okay, all right, thank you. No, the reason I'm asking is because, first of all, two things. You are definitely an empath, which we already know, but you're also a sensitive. And empath and sensitive are very, very similar. I have them in my book again. It's like I got 6 chapters of the book. I mean, six sections of the book. One is an empath, one is a sensitive, and they are very similar. So think about S, spirit. And then empath is dealing with the physical world. So when people are around you that are affecting you, that are alive, you're going to feel their energy. You're going to feel if they like you or not. You're going to take on their junk. And then if it's a spiritual world, and that will be a ghost as a sensitive. So like I'm a sensitive when I've done paranormal investigations. I pick up where they are. I'm going to feel when they are around my house, or I can tell exactly where they are in a property when I'm walking around. So you pick up that energy that way too. I'm going to tell you that you have to set your intention when you are making a connection. So what are you asking God for? Because is it just basic stuff for information, or is it like the healing?
Actually, it's all that stuff. It's for healing, but it's also, I always want that my will to be God's will, and I want a communion with God. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, I attract a lot of different people into my life, and a lot of times I'm able to give them messages that I know things. I'm just giving them. I just basically listen and I deliver. And I feel like I can actually feel what's in their auric field. I'll go to somebody, I feel music all around you, and then I'll be able to give them career advice. And I've never met them before, and then basically it's a one-off and I'm done. I deliver and I leave. And I can be a medium as well, and I have done that in specific occasions. So I guess the thing is, part is an inner conflict. Is this okay according to God? But it's like, okay, it's a natural gift. And I just want to do divine will. I just want to be good. I just want to come from love. I'm not making this into a business, because right now I'm just way too sensitive for it.
Okay.
But I just want to be in service. That's really it.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you 2 things. One is that I do feel like you're receiving information from, God, but I feel like the other one is definitely a torment a little bit. I don't feel like it's a perfect energy, and the other one that's left side is, I'm not saying it's a bad source, but I definitely don't feel like your own mind. There's a whole much, I could be here for thousands of hours literally and talk about all of this. But like your own mind is not gonna, like, it could be your own mind that's coming in and saying, do this, do that on the left side, because your higher spirit and your soul that guides you, like intuition, is usually gentle on you. It's not gonna be hard on you. So there's a difference between your higher self and your own mind. And your own mind is what's going to take over and be like, you should be doing this and that and be pushy. It's not going to be like, and that's more of a negative thought, maybe from like depression or anything that was gone through with your life, where you're going to be questioning yourself. So that's your thought. That's not your higher self. I'd really work on that. So if anything's coming in and it's negative, you have to just say, I'm not going to accept this when it comes to your thought process. And just say, I wish to only speak with pure spirit only. So I would do that. The other thing too with protection, I always tell people the best thing you can have for protection is right in your kitchen closet, salt. Salt is, I have cleared so many people. I do clearings on people that have attachments. I just know when there's an attachment on that, and that can come from a negative source, a negative person that's around you that's like very bad, or a negative ghost or entity. And it can actually attach into your energy field. And so the quickest thing is, I always say, get like you know, fill up your bathtub, throw like 2 cups of salt in there, sit in there, wipe yourself down, put it on your face, put it in your hair, get out, and don't even rinse it off. Just pat it dry and put on fresh undergarments and be like that overnight. You'd be surprised how you feel, because negative energy from people or a spirit do not like salt. And that is why all islands are haunted, because they won't cross over the salt water. So, you know, it comes off you quickly. I had a paranormal investigation like 3 weeks ago, and I felt like it was affecting me when I got home. I just jumped right into the bathtub, and I did that. So I would do the salt, like when you feel out of it, or you could even make a spray bottle and just mist it all over yourself. Also change your thought process in your mind, and do make sure that you say, like, I asked to speak to God during this connection to talk to you about what I need to know about this, this, and this. Let me be the purest light. You know, so should always initiate any contact with the spiritual world by requesting. Don't just jump into it. And I'll be honest with you, some of the teachers I took some quick classes with really scared me, because they didn't do any of that. And I'm like, what am I talking to? You know, am I talking to a demon? Am I talking to God? Am I talking to an angel? Who am I talking to? And that's why, like, when I teach, I'm like, be very specific, so you know what source you're working with. Anyway, I hope I helped you. And
you're amazing. I guess
I've been teaching for a long time. It's just the teach for me. Sorry.
No, it's the information. I guess the only other thing is just with somebody's residence. Sometimes people say to have crystals, like some of the, you know, the dark crystals. I can't remember which one, obsidian or whatever. Or do you protect residences with salt by putting salt, you know, in the doorways, the windows?
Oh, don't put them in salt in the doorways. Just put it on yourself. Don't ever put it on the perimeter of your house, nothing, because anything that's negative will not cross over salt. And one of the biggest things that paranormal investigators used to do is like put it around the perimeter of the house. Well, if they didn't get it out, it stays in with you. So don't ever do it anywhere else but on you, so it stays off of you. So I mist it on your bed, mist it like on your comforter, mist it on you before you go to bed, so it does not affect you when you're sleeping. That's when you're in most vulnerable state.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Thank you.
I actually have this thing called the Spiritual Protection Kit that has like 14 pages of instructions, but I took it off because I'm actually going to teach a class on it, because I have a lot of empathic clients and stuff, and it's not something that you should just follow step by step. You got to really understand it. So it's a process. But you're welcome. I hope you learned something. You're welcome.
Huge. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi Sherry. I see your hand up. How are you doing? The other people, okay, yeah. And you can just lower your hand if I already talked to you, so I can kind of keep track. All right, thanks.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I wanted to ask a question about contacting loved ones. My mom has been gone for 14 years, and it seemed like during the time that was near her passing, the time right after her passing, I could feel her, and I felt like I was getting messages. But now it's a long time. 14 years is a long time, and there are times that I'd like to connect with her to gain guidance or wisdom. I've done a little bit of EVP work, and the messages that I got through EVP made me think that other people were hearing, and they knew where she was, but I wasn't contacting her, because I actually got an EVP on a recorder saying my mom's name was Selma, and on that they said, did Selma talk to Sherry? And it's like it's like maybe I would, like, when she was live, I'd call her at work, and you know, somebody would answer okay and go get her. Well, it was that kind of a feeling, but it wasn't, I didn't have direct contact anymore. So what can we do to facilitate more direct contact with a loved one after there's been a long time span and we really need them?
Okay. So you said you would go to EVP, that's a recorder, correct? Well, not a recorder, it's like a,
yeah, a recorder, and I did radio work, and but it seemed like I was talking to somebody else, not my mom. It was almost like I was Like
Oh,
I was
yeah.
calling her at work and talking to one of the coworkers, and they knew where she was, but she was out busy, and I wasn't getting a direct contact with her.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you, everyone, do not use apps and do not use EVPs and all those things unless you know what you are absolutely doing. And I don't mean to be cruel or mean or anything like that. Believe me, I have done this for a very long time. Some of that plays with you, and you might invite something else in that you cannot get out. Okay? Most of the paranormal investigations came from people playing around with equipment, playing with apps, all kinds of stuff. And I've actually been frightened myself from fooling around with certain things I was testing out where things that actually were in my house and turning my lights off and stuff. So don't play with that. It's not like I actually teach a class, and this is not all about throwing myself out there, but it's called Until We Meet Again. And I wrote that class, and I'm teaching it again in the fall, and I think I'm going to have a full class, but I'm going to teach it. It's going to be online because I got clients all over. But I teach people how to initiate contact. Because the thing is, most of my clients, it's nice to have a medium session and everything else, but it's not enough. It really isn't enough. How are you going to keep doing this? How do you build your seeing them, hearing them, feeling them? It takes a lot of time and energy. But the biggest thing is it takes a lot of their energy to contact you too. Hey, like they're one person trying to reach 25 people that want to talk to them. You think they're going to be around you all the time? No. They're going to try to reach maybe somebody else that's going through something else and try to show up for them. So they're not always around. It takes a lot of their energy to contact you. It depends on like how they transitioned and if it's been a long time or not since they've been gone, or maybe you are blocked. Like, maybe you're blocked. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. Maybe you're afraid of mediumship. So there's like a little filter that's going, I'm going to shut it off. Or maybe you are going through a lot of stress in your life or anxiety with life. You can't receive very well when you are going through stuff because your emotional state is going to take over and it's going to be really hard to receive. Even me, okay? I've got a really crazy life. I got a day job for NASA. I work really hard. And then I've got to like take an hour or two off, flip the switch, come into my office and read like 10 people back to back that have like just lost their kids and like tragic stuff. And I got to put myself right there, right then and there and have to make that connection. So you got to flip a switch. But I got to be mentally ready for that. And so when you are trying to make connections, it's not easy. I'm not trying to take it away from you. It's not easy just to jump in and be like, okay, I want all this information. But the best way to really do it is the first thing is make sure you initiate it properly by saying, I want to connect to my mother. Okay. And then you want to say, I wish to connect to my mother. And you want to always say the relationship to you and then their first and last name. Okay. Don't say I want to talk to Joe. Okay, so it's your brother. What happens if there's 3 million Joes around you? And so Joe comes in, but it's not your Joe, right? It's Joe down the street. And all of a sudden he's talking to you about his garden and everything. You're like, oh my God, that's not my Joe. That's my neighbor Joe. You need to be very specific who you want to talk to, and you want to pay. I always tell, this is how I teach it, the first and last name and the relationship to you. Then you are calling them in. Okay, so that's the first thing. The other thing you can do, it's pretty easy, is say, let me feel your presence. The spiritual world, the easiest sense that we can have after somebody passes is feeling them. Most people feel your loved one 1 or 2 days after they pass. And there's a huge reason for it because they're very present before they transition. They're like, I'm here, I'm letting you know, they're trying to comfort you. And it's very, very profound. Then all of a sudden you can't feel them anymore. It's because they're transitioning. So say, please let me feel your presence. You'll be amazed because you're going to start feeling a tingly warm around you. And that's like the first contact. But the thing is, after you do that, you always have to disconnect. You can't keep that open because then you're going to get drained. They're going to get drained and they're going to be like, what's going on? You're going making dinner, you're doing things you forget. They're still lingering around. So you want to just connect and say, thank you for coming through to me. I wish to disconnect from you now, go back into the light. And so, but you can do that with let me feel you. And then you can say, let me see you. You can keep your eyes closed and see if they'll come in, like you'll see a vision of their face, really, try to concentrate how they looked, maybe their best state, before they got sick or something, and their eyes and the nose and the mouth, and talk to them and wait for them to respond like they're mouthing the word and wait for a response and trust it. Those are the first things you can do, because the more you do that, the more you create a vortex between both worlds, and it creates a bond. And you start getting some more messages. Then you start trusting more. So it's like a click thing. But if you don't try and you're just waiting for them, it takes a long time sometimes.
Okay. Thank you.
Long answer. Sorry, I got to be better. When do
No,
you?
that's a good answer. And some steps. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. Okay, come on, people, don't be shy. Philip, I know you want to ask a question. I can tell. Oh, sorry, Julie.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm sorry. I apologize. For some reason, the whole screen's just flipped and I didn't even notice. And I did see it earlier. I'm sorry, Julie. I saw you. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'm a little bit scared to ask you these questions.
Uh-oh. I'm a straight shooter. I'm sorry. I don't mean to scare anybody, but I'm a straight shooter.
Okay, well, that's good. That's a good thing. So one of the reasons why I've been coming to these classes or these Zoom meetings for the past couple of years, I've started seeing things, like seeing orbs and lights and shadows and just all kinds of phenomena, and almost on a daily basis now. I've recently moved into this house this past November, and I had phenomena at my other house, at Little Farm. I've moved here thinking, okay, I'm not going to have phenomena anymore, but I'm having phenomena. And at night, there's these entities that come in to my room sometimes, and I've seen them in the form of like black forms or shadows. I've been touched, yada yada yada. So I do all kinds of things. So I meditate. I'm very spiritual. I pray. And maybe it's wrong that I have put crystals around. I have a talisman that I meditate and pray with to try to program. Just all kinds of things. So now I hear what you're saying about the salt. So I'm going to try that with spraying the salt on me and around the room and all that. But I was wondering if you could give me, because I'm thinking, well, none of this stuff works. It's if they want to come in, they come in. It's just how I'm starting to feel about this thing.
Okay, and so I'm going to say don't create a talisman. And with the meditation, I'd stop that right now. Nothing wrong with it, but what happens is when you meditate, you just reach a higher vibrational state. And right now, like, I hate to say it, but it's all about you, honey. It's not the property. They find you wherever you are, and that happens.
I had a feeling, but why?
Because
Why?
you're a sensitive, and that happened to me too. My childhood home. I moved several places. They always found me. I'd have them walking up to me when I was lying in bed, because you are, instead of a medium, you're more of a sensitive, because you're seeing ghosts, and you're probably seeing demonic entities. I don't mean to scare you, but if they're black, they're demonic entities. Sometimes it might be negative energy from a negative person. I don't know. I'm not doing a paranormal investigation right now for you. But what happens is they know you're really open. And so they're like, woohoo, we're going to have a party with Julie. Let's see what's going on. Let's see if she'll notice us. So the thing is, there's a couple things, like immediately. One is a salt bath. The second thing is mist your bed, just like the covers in your blanket. Because when you are sleeping, are you tired at all? Are you wiped out?
Sometimes.
Okay, because they feed off of your energy when you're sleeping. I don't mean to scare you, but they do.
It's not, because that's when they come, and it's not been that long ago, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had a almost sleep paralysis.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's like I immediately knew I had to wake up, and I forced myself awake, and I was on that verge of sleep paralysis. But there was something in my hair that was like doing this in my hair. And then when I woke up and I came out of it, it's gone. But it it could have been a hypnagogic hallucination, but I don't think it was. I think it was some little troll thing.
Yeah, so you definitely you're sensitive, you're picking up the paranormal. See, loved ones aren't going to play with your hair. They're not going to walk around and have a dark form. Loved ones you're not going to see them really unless like they decide to show up, and they're not going to be scary or like frightening or anything like that. There's a total difference. So you got paranormal. And the thing is that when you're open like that, and you can see them too, they're really interested in you because they're like, wow, she knows I'm here. Let me kind of fool around with her. Let me touch her. Let me play with her hair. And you might hear like whistles, and you might hear all kinds of stuff too, because they can also make sound. So what you want to do is be like, there's two things you can either do. One, completely ignore them, or two, work on getting them out like the best you can. I can't guarantee they'll leave, but do the staging and do the salt bath and just be like, I'm not going to bother with you. When it starts bothering you, put like some fun music on, start dancing around the house. So like it takes the fear out of you, so that it doesn't like make them more intrigued by you. They like fear. They feed off of fear.
Right.
And I would wear like a crystal quartz, and somebody else asked about the crystals, but crystal quartz is like the best crystal you can have. That is like the energy healer's crystal, the protector. I wear them on paranormal investigations. I have a huge like necklace. I have a ring and I wear them. I clear them all the time, and I wear that. But they don't like sage. You can do like staging in your house, and you can open the window so they can leave and tell them, you're not welcome here. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to feel you. You're not welcome here. Be very firm. Don't yell at them, because if you do that, it just makes them more intrigued by you. So.
Right. How about I have the selenite selenite crystal, SELE, and that's what I have in my windows, which apparently is not working. But
Well, selenite is an angelic stone. I mean, it works probably the high vibrational stone. So if you're selenite, you want to say, you need to ask Archangel Michael to protect you too. So just say, I ask Archangel Michael and the angels of the white light, not just angels, because angels can be fallen angels, but angels of the white light, to protect my house and my environment. Make sure you wash that, you rinse it in water and set it in the sun to reactivate the healing property to protect you and around you. Because if you let it sit there, it just absorbs all the junk around you anyway. So
right.
sounds like you're sensitive to me. And like I said, it's not like this long private session I'm having with you, but it feels like it's that. And I've had that too, but I learned over a period of time how to shut it off. I can feel it everywhere I am. My building I'm in is 100 and something years old that I rent. And they're upstairs. I saw legs going up the stairs, not too long ago. But they're upstairs, and they kept on making my curtains fall when I was putting them up when I moved in here. And I'm like, I know you're here, just leave me alone. They usually respect you, believe it or not, if you like address it to them. And if it gets worse, then I would just try to sage them out.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Good luck.
I need it. Thanks.
Yeah. Do lots of salt.
Okay. I'll start with the salt.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm going to talk to Ted now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Hi, Ted. How you doing?
I'm okay, Lauren. A few things. I'm in my 50s now, and in the early 70s, it was suggested to me that I wear a patch on my eye. I had a classmate who actually did in the kindergarten, and I had a weak left eye and a stronger right eye. And I was told, that I was too sensitive all, through my childhood. And there was a particular school psychologist who just would sort of impugn me with, you've got to learn not to be so sensitive. And he was like really overbearing, and he wouldn't come up for air. I felt a lot that I didn't belong in a lot of ways. I really don't understand things like wars and genocide and all that. And yeah, I don't understand why people are so mean to animals. I mean, they just keep slaughtering them unnecessarily. One thing, as being from the West, meaning the Western Hemisphere, United States, um, that sometimes, if you say that you can see something that somebody else can't see, or hear something that somebody else can't hear, they'll say, "Oh, you must be schizophrenic. Oh, let's hospitalize you," and all that, and it's kind of difficult to tell when there's a bona fide, disorder, so to speak, or a gift. And that, my father certainly didn't help matters, because he was academically and scientifically oriented. And, you get scoffed at and ridiculed and be called gullible if you talked about anything that wasn't, scientifically proven.
True.
Um,
Mhm. I know all
and
about that.
yeah, and on another topic, there's this one woman in a branch of my library who evidently has the ability to read my thoughts sometimes
Mhm.
from across the room. I mean, it's like at first I didn't catch on, but like after 3 or 4 times, I think of something that somebody would not typically say or think or word, and and she catches on. Um, I'm just wondering, as far as privacy or whatever, how many people can read my thoughts? Um, very few, I'd say. Um, at least they're not admitting it. Um, and sometimes I feel attracted to the dark side. I don't know why. It's kind of like an enchantment or something, a Halloween-like type of thing, like watching horror films and so forth.
Okay, so
And
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be rude, but can you just ask me a question? I know it's getting late for everybody, and I don't know how long I have, so is it more the dark side part, or what would you like to know?
well, I'd say one thing that was really problematic is that when I was really upset about something and disturbed, that I just couldn't feel love, it seemed. I couldn't feel love toward anyone. And is that a disorder? Or, I mean, I was really vilified by it, for it.
Disorder, I mean, I'm not a, medical doctor. I can tell you that you said you're really sensitive as a child, and you're saying that you're not now.
Well, I am, but not as much.
That's just life. I think, I hate to say it's just life and all the people that have hurt us, but I don't know if it's a disorder. I can tell you that a lot of very successful NP mediums that I know too, like all of them have like some form of ADD, all kinds of stuff. Our minds can go someplace completely different very fast. And so I don't look at it like disorder. I feel like it's kind of a gift. In terms of you like being very sensitive and then not feeling anything, that could be more life, that could be just DNA. I don't know, but I feel like you're just still confused, like kind of who you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So,
Thanks.
and but you do have some psychic abilities too, I'm hearing. Does that make sense too?
Well,
It's
I
five.
have a good sense of intuition sometimes, but as far as mediumship, psychic abilities, I'm kind of at a loss. I mean, I don't
You're more of
really.
you're a psychic though. What happened to you at 5?
What happened to me at 5? Well, if you believe in the alien abduction type scenario, I'd say that was definitely evident, and my father was very critical of me also.
Okay. All right. Because I just feel like there was a life-changing transitional state for you at 5. I can't probably go into it a lot longer, but I do feel like that you do struggle. I mean, I'm not going by what you said, but I do feel like you struggle with your emotions. I do feel like you're hot and cold in terms of that too. So there might be more of like a personality or even possible bipolar stuff. I don't want to diagnose you or even suggest anything, but you are highly empathic. So just try to turn more to that so you can feel again, you know, and concentrate on feeling other people's emotions and things, and that will kind of bring on, will help you a little bit about being closed off. You know what I mean? Like just try to connect to people more, like people that are around, just try to see what they're feeling, and it will kind of turn things on for you again, like so you're not so closed off. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, we've reached the top of the hour, and I'm aware that Alan's got a question, so I'm just asking Alan, could you keep it very short?
Yeah, it is very short. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Sylvia Brown, she came up with, from her guide, supposedly, that there could be something like roughly 6 exit points during an earthly life. Would you like to comment on that?
Well, I will be honest with you and frank, I don't know about that part of angels or the exits or anything like that. So I won't be able to really comment on it.
Okay.
I'm not a professional angel person. I just can receive them, hear them, channel them, feel them. I'm more of an expert with mediumship and psychic and paranormal. Those are my 3 areas that I'm very, very strong with. Everybody, I will say honestly, as spiritual teachers, we all have our own way that we receive information and how we teach it, you know, and so that could have been just her theory and her way, but I honestly can't comment on it because I don't know much about that. Sorry.
Thank you. And just before we end, I'd just like to introduce Philip, who's also a paranormal investigator. Philip, did you have any questions while we've got Lauren here? It's
Philip, I know you want to. I could see you shaking your head. I was like, he's into it. I want to know. Come on.
Talk to you for like hours though about.
I know we should definitely connect. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
GeorgiaParanormalInvestigations.com. But this goes back to when you were helping with the murder victim. I've always been curious that when someone passes, even though it may be with murder, do they want their murderer found, or are they not going on and, you know, forgiving, forgetting, you know, letting their family know they're fine? Why do they want their murderers found and their locations found? I mean, I'm a little confused about that situation because it seems like we get so much information from spirit and details, but we don't ever get the murderer's address, car tag number, telephone number. You know, it's just, why is it so different in that situation?
I will honestly say, to be quite, it's really nice to meet you, and I'd love to connect sometime for you and time and maybe help you out a little bit on cases. I've read teams that I never even met and helped to locate a spirit and properties that were like across the country. So yeah. I find it very fascinating because, again, spirit, paranormal, whatever, there's no time and place, and they can be anywhere and I can pick them up. But I just find it extremely fascinating. It's like a hobby too for me. But it's really different for each individual, I feel like. You know, some of them, like, I'll just say real quick, I know it's getting late and I hope people can hang for a minute, but I was one of 3 mediums that was chosen for this case. And I actually said to the producer, I said, why do you have 3 different people? I'm like, what happens if I'm like, this person killed her, and then somebody else says it's somebody else that killed her, and this other person? He's like, he wouldn't give me an answer, but then I came to find out that she gave us, you know, in her case, it was funny, one of the mediums said, oh, she's fine, she's at rest. But when I heard her and I touched the bag that her skull was carried around for 30 years by the former chief of police, she's yelling in my ear going, help me, help me, help me, help me. And I started to cry. I felt her pain, I felt her emotions. And then when I went to the dunes where her body was discovered, before I left, I'm very, very sensitive, obviously, for my work, but I'm very compassionate. Like, I get very attached to certain cases. And I was like I wouldn't say anything bad about any of the mediums. They everybody had their own thing. But when I left, I took down, like, there's no way that people could find this on their own. We had to go through, like, over the dunes and through all kinds of stuff to get to her place. It was like no access road that was close by. But anyway, before I left, I did find out where her body was found, and I had to point to it, and it was the right place because they picked up the pictures from 47 years ago. It was the same trees and everything. But before I left, I went to the ground and I pulled up dried weeds, and I said, and there was like some dried cranberry looking, flowers. And then I went to the tree and I said, listen, I put my hand on the ground. I said, I'm not forgetting about you. I'm not forgetting about you. And she said, please help me. Please help me. I'm hearing this in my ear. And I'm leaving. I said, I promise you, I'm going to work on this case. Well, on the way home, I stopped at this place that let me stay at the inn. And I said, I'll do a paranormal, I was wiped out. I'll do a paranormal investigation before I go. And I'm walking through the property and I had on one of my detectors. It's okay. I'm used to this particular detective. And she was like, I said, she's still talking to me. And anyway, she said, road. So she said, road. And then I'm coming home and I'm talking to my husband with my car, with the Bluetooth, and the line drops. And everything she had channeled to me about where she was murdered was right in front of my eyes. It was a very specific part in Massachusetts that had really weird trees that a few people said, I know where they are, but I can't think of like exactly where they are. And there it was, and there was this road. So I went down the road, and then she led me literally to her murder site. So the whole thing is with me, she's like, please help me, she wants to be found. Nobody ever came forth for her body. So that led me to believe that her family was gone, or like she had a disassociation. Back in that day, nobody had cell phones anyway. But not all of them are at rest. Like, some might be like, all right, I don't want to deal with this anymore, but most of murder victims are not at rest. They know who their murderers are, but they want other people to know so they can be put away. They want to be able to, like, in her case, nobody came forward. She, the town collected money to bury the rest of her remains. She just wants people to care about her and visit her and have a bench at the dunes so they can find out where she was. So it's a very long answer, but it's like some of them are okay and some are not. When it's paranormal, those are the people that are stuck because they don't know they're gone, or they know they're gone, but they can't transcend. Some of them are demonic, you probably know. Some of our loved ones and different things. But for the majority of the murder cases, they just really want to be free. They want to be properly, acknowledged. So does that answer your question? I'm sorry. I'm very long with my answers. That's just my part of my expertise, and I get into it, so.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Lauren, it's been absolutely fabulous. And we'll get in touch with you about doing a couple more talks. I think you've just...
I will do it. I loved it.
You've got so much to share, and we've got a lovely network of people here that I think you would just connect with. Now, it's just been wonderful. Would somebody like to thank Lauren for us, please? Somebody who's been touched by what Lauren has shared.
I appreciate a lot how you helped me today, really. Thank you.
I appreciate it. You're welcome. I'm happy to help everybody.
Somebody else?
I appreciate it also. I'm gonna go get some salt and put it in a spray bottle here very soon, and hopefully not be afraid when I go to bed tonight.
Thank you, Lauren. I think you've touched a lot of people today.
In closure, just like if you're on Facebook, follow me on Medium Lauren Robbins. I have a new Facebook page. What I do is a Facebook Live every Friday now at 5:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And actually this Friday, I'm talking about mediumship, and I'm putting people's gifts to the test for a second. I'm like, okay, what's this? What are you getting on that? And I kind of like do things, and I do a different topic, but if you want to follow me, you can there, and then you'll see like when I have classes and events, and you can keep in touch with me through that too.
So it's Medium Lauren Robbins on Facebook Live.
Yeah. I'm Lauren for the Lami Robbins, but I just made it short to Lauren Robbins. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Janice, did you want to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I thought it was absolutely marvelous, fantastic, and I'm so grateful. You are the real deal. That's all I can say. I listened to you and I learned so much, and I just can't thank you enough. So I wish you, and probably on behalf of everybody, just blessings and protection, and continue on your path, doing wonderful work.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It really touches my heart to hear things, because it's all about helping other people and passing along everything I know as much as I know when I'm gone. Like we have to share our knowledge, so wisdom.
Lauren, do you have any suggestion for an activity?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, people. Okay, get ready. Fasten your seatbelt. Do you have your notebooks and all this stuff? So what you're going to do, this is what I do with my students. I put you on. I'm not going to stay for the breakout rooms, but I'd be interested to see how you guys do. If you wanted to let me know later. But so when you go in, how many people are you putting in the breakout rooms, Wendy, together?
I usually think 3 works well, but it's up to you. What do you recommend?
Okay, so I just do 2 groups of 3 then, but I would, yeah, that's good. You don't want to make them too exhausted, but the biggest thing you want to do is in your group, I mean, you probably don't all know each other, right? Like, you really don't know each other, right? Or their background. So the thing is, you want to connect. I would suggest that you, in your breakout room, you're going to choose somebody in your room. Everybody has to have a turn. You have to ask, I can't explain it. I would be doing it different if I was teaching it, but I would, each person should have a partner and vice versa. And you should ask that person in your group, like say, for instance, I'll just do as an example, like say Lourdes, Mary, and Julie were all together. Lourdes, you would choose Mary and ask her what kind of, who would you like to connect to without the relationship to, just a name that is attached to her. And then write down everything you get when you receive that information, and then tell her and see if it's validating. And then Mary, you would read Julie and do the same thing. Then Julie, you read Lourdes. Do you understand? So everybody gets a receiving message, but also everybody gets a message for yourself, but you're giving one also. The thing is when you're doing that, do not, and ask that person, does that make sense what I said to you? Does that make sense? Because even if you're like 50% right, it doesn't matter, you're getting somewhere. You can't always be 100%, it's all about development, but just trust it and know what your strongest sense is too, because you all know your senses, by the way. You guys know what you're doing in these medium groups? Okay, so you know what clairvoyance is, you know what clairaudience is, all these things. You want to protect yourself too before you read anybody. So just say, I ask, if you're not into God, then just say, I ask the angels of the white light protect me when I read this person. Or I ask for God to protect me when I read this person. Because you want to have protection before you read. Because if you don't know. So, and then give that messages and ask for validations. And just be on point and just go with what you're getting and don't question it. Even the stupidest things sometimes are like the most validating. So that's all I gotta say. I'm going home, going to bed, hanging out with my dog and my husband, so.
Lauren, thank you once again. It's been absolutely fabulous.